Okay, where did you see blood at?
On the pillows and the cups and on the bed. And then I started crying, but I tried to call 911. Ran here.
You ran?
As fast as I could.
March 27, 2003, a small Ohio town wakes to unthinkable news. Two pillars of the community, Jack and Linda Myers, are found pass away under suspicious circumstances in their bed. And the only witness is their 4-year-old great-grandson. This murder documentary traces how one child's fragmented words helped detectives uncover a chilling secret hidden behind family ties and financial ruin. That small voice you hear belongs to 4-year-old Dameon Huffman. An hour earlier, he was safe on his great-grandparents' farm in rural Ohio. From the moment he was born, Dameon was cared for and raised by his grandparents. They became the only support in his life. And in their eyes, Dameon was the whole world. But on March 27, 2003, he turns up at his daycare alone, covered in blood, and everything changes.
911, your emergency?
The little boy just ran in the front door.
How'd he get to the daycare?
Walked here.
How old is he?
He's 4.
He's 4 years old and he walked there?
Yes, he did. He said his grandparents are military, and they have blood all over them.
At first, no one understands his words. Then officers go to check on his grandparents and find both of them pass away in their beds. No suspect, no clear motive, only one possible witness, a child who pretended to be asleep.
I turned 4 because I had my birthday already.
What do you remember?
The door opened.
Your bedroom door?
Yeah.
And who did you see?
It's 2003 in Bradford, Ohio. Dameon lives on a 40-acre farm with his great-grandparents, Jack and Linda Myers, and his mother, Amber. Amber was a teen when he was born in late 1998.
When Dameon came along, he was just so precious.
You know, they loved him, and they loved me enough to help me out, and so they helped me with him.
Jack and Linda had blended families later in life. They ran a small pizza shop and became pillars of the community. The farm was the gathering place. Kids, grandkids, big dinners, nonstop laughter.
So I was living with Grandma and Grandpa because them being the kind, loving people that they were, they took me in and cared for me and everything, and Mom would come and see me. We were always having fun, laughing, and just carrying on and whatnot.
Jack and Dameon were the best of friends. Jack would sit him on his lap, and they'd be out there just driving around in the field, and Dameon thought that was the coolest thing ever.
Jack is Dameon's hero. He lets the boys steer the field rides from his lap. The house smells like home-cooked food.
The farm was the place that everybody went and got together for all the family gatherings.
There's a Grandpa Jack at his best. Oh, that's Grandma. Hi, Grandma.
I mean, we all had great family things that we did together.
We were all so close that you didn't put that step-parent or step-son into things. You know, we were all just really close. There was no reason to ever think that anything bad would go on there.
Amber has recently married and is finally stable enough to support Dameon herself. The plan, after preschool, he'll move in with Mom, only 30 minutes away, and start kindergarten there. But on the morning of March 27, 2003 at 9:15 a.m., a 911 dispatcher gets a call from the daycare. A little boy has arrived in pajamas, soaked in blood. It's Dameon. Fear spikes. Something terrible must have happened a mile down the road.
911, your emergency?
The little boy just ran in the front door.
How'd he get to the daycare?
Walked here.
How old is he?
He's 4.
He's 4 years old and he walked there?
Yes, he did. And he said his grandparents are military,
Okay.
and they have blood all over them.
Grandparents mean something was wrong.
The boy was Dameon, who lived just a mile away on the Myers family farm. The teachers recognized him immediately, a child who had always smiled brightly in their classrooms. But today, his eyes were filled with fear. They feared the worst. The police rushed to the farm, not knowing what to expect. The dispatcher ordered a complete lockdown.
Yeah, go ahead and lock your doors. Yeah, you don't want any of them kids outside.
Oh, my God.
We didn't know what we were dealing with. We didn't know if it was an injury or if it was an assault. Were there perpetrators at the scene? I'm just assuming worst case scenario. What was first noticed was the front door of the house was standing wide open. We tactically entered the door where we stopped, took cover, calling out, anybody home, anybody here, and there was still no response.
At the house, the front door stands open. Guns drawn, police moved cautiously room to room, calling out. Silence. They pushed open the bedroom door. A horrifying sight unfolded before their eyes. On the bed, in the middle of the room, 2 lifeless, bloody bodies lay. There was no doubt about it. The nightmare had come true. The identities of the 2 victims were quickly confirmed. Jack and Linda Myers, Dameon's grandparents.
I see that Jack was bleeding from the mouth and nose.
He had a gunshot wound to the back of his head.
I could see that he had suffered significant blood loss. I checked him for a carotid pulse. He obviously wasn't breathing, and I determined he was deceased. Linda has suffered a gunshot wound directly to the face and also to the hand. They both felt a little bit warm to the touch, which tells me it hasn't been days that they've been deceased. It's probably more like hours.
Every door, every dark corner was checked. No one was there, not a sound. The suspect had disappeared into the night, and the manhunt was officially on. Back at daycare, Dameon is placed under police care. Until investigators know who did this, everyone is a potential risk, including family. In this situation, it was simply unsafe to let Dameon out of their sight. At the same time, several other police officers arrived at Amber's home, bringing bad news that no one wanted to hear about the terrible events that had happened earlier in the day.
The detectives told me that they were no longer with us, and I was confused. I said, and Dameon too, because the way that they worded it made me think my son wasn't here either.
He was actually put in a protective custody status, and he was hidden from all of his family members.
Not knowing where Dameon was or how he was feeling, there was nothing I could do. To comfort my son is the worst feeling in the world.
Dameon remains hidden, protected even from his loved ones for his own safety. As news of the incident spread throughout Darke County, no one could believe such a tragedy had happened. 2 pillars of the community tragically found lifeless in their farmhouse. Fear turned to rumor.
The bodies of Jack Myers and his wife Linda were found murdered in this farmhouse near Gettysburg, both shot to death, execution style.
It's already made the news, and the people in the community think some monster's out there that has snuck into people's house and gonna kill them.
It seems that only Dameon knows the truth. However, investigators need to comb the scene to verify every detail before putting the boy's story into the file. At first, everyone thought it was just a failed robbery. However, after the investigation team entered the farm for a preliminary inspection, that assumption was quickly dismissed.
We found money around the house. We found purses, credit cards, checkbooks.
We found cash. We found electronics. Drawers had not been opened or looked into. Theft does not appear to be the immediate motive here.
This feels planned, personal. Investigators begin with the inner circle.
It is not normal for a total stranger to just sneak into somebody's house overnight and murder somebody and walk out for no apparent reason. So the investigation is going to start to center around those that are closest to.
Although the police questioned everyone they knew, none of them had any useful information. Except John, the Myers family's longtime friend and closest neighbor.
He believed he had some information for us, reference to our investigation.
Okay, why don't we just start out with, you tell us what you know.
Make a long story pretty much short. When me and him used to start off hunting all the time.
Now me
and Gregg Myers.
John couldn't shake the feeling that there was something unusual about Gregg Myers. Gregg was Jack's son from his first marriage, yet to those around him, he had never been suspicious. At 25, having just been best man at his father's wedding, Gregg was remembered as a gentle, polite boy who had been on the farm since childhood.
Gregg was the one that had been closest with his father for most of his life.
Gregg cared for his dad dearly. Didn't have no problems with anything about his dad.
Gregg had no criminal record or history of trouble. According to everyone who knew him, he was the complete opposite of a typical suspect, a family man with no problems and no reason to be involved in this tragedy. Yet, despite his normal appearance, the police decided to take Gregg into the station for questioning.
When Gregg first came into the interview room, he He was acting like he was down or emotionally upset. Asked us for a trash can right away, said his stomach had been upset all day.
When questioned about his whereabouts at the time of the murder, Gregg gave a clear and well-supported account. He had worked 30 miles from home that morning and produced a timesheet that was verified by a postmark. The shoe prints at the crime scene were 2 sizes smaller than his own. Gregg remained cooperative throughout the interrogation, even offering to take a polygraph test. He also agreed to let the police search the house themselves.
Up to this point in the investigation, we had no information leading us to Gregg.
At this point, nothing points to Gregg. The trail is thin. But detectives still have the boy, the only living witness. It's time to hear Dameon's story.
Why don't you tell me what your name is?
Dameon Huffman Myers.
How old are you, Dameon?
I turned 4 because I had my birthday already.
Okay.
He woke up early that morning. No grandparents calling him for preschool. Something felt wrong. He went downstairs.
I ran downstairs and I went in the bedroom and I was trying to wake him up.
Were they just laying there in bed, or where were they at?
They was laying in bed, melted.
No child should have to witness such a devastating scene. The sight of his grandparents falling apart was beyond Dameon's young mind to comprehend. The only way he could make sense of it was to believe that they were melting. The words left the detective speechless, taking a moment to register. And as the true meaning of the words began to dawn on them, they realized they were listening to their youngest and most heartbroken witness.
You saw blood?
Yeah.
Okay, where did you see blood at?
On the pillows and the covers and on the bed.
He tries to help dabs his grandpa's face with the tissue. Jack and Dameon were almost inseparable. He trusted his grandfather to protect him and his grandmother to protect him. When tragedy struck, little Dameon chose to face it head-on, summoning the courage to do what his grandparents had done for him. Never give up.
And then I started crying. I tried to call 911.
The boy clutched the phone and dialed 911, but there was no signal. The line was dead. Police later discovered that the perpetrator had deliberately cut the phone so no one could call for help. Dameon frantically searched the house, hoping for another way. Remembering that the daycare was just over a mile away, he rushed out the door and down the dirt road to the only place he believed he could save his grandparents.
I didn't know it. He started ran here.
You ran?
As fast as I could.
Detectives noticed that Dameon's account didn't match what was found at the crime scene. Blood was also found in his bedroom. Was Dameon simply remembering wrong, or was there something he couldn't bring himself to say? To take a gentler approach, they came up with a different method, recreating the entire house using miniature models and dolls, hoping this would make it easier for the 4-year-old to tell his story. As Dameon reenacts what he did that morning, he reveals that while he was still sleeping in his room before going down to check on his grandparents, a stranger appeared in the house.
I was in bed, I was sleeping. I heard the door click. And so I peeked because I didn't want to get caught being up. I figured it was grandma or grandpa coming in to talk to me or something.
But when he peeks through half-closed eyes, it isn't them. Standing in the doorway is a man in a dark green jumpsuit, holding a firearm.
I was absolutely terrified. I was scared. This dark green mass of a man pointing a gun. I just closed my eyes and eventually I opened my eyes to peek. And he was gone.
This 4-year-old had come pretty much face to face with somebody that had just killed his grandparents.
Just 5 miles from the house on the banks of the Stillwater River, police discovered a 12-gauge firearm. The serial number had been filed away from the barrel, an apparent attempt to conceal the identity of its owner. Remarkably, the gun bore nearly identical characteristics to the weapon Dameon had described in his account. Using restoration techniques, forensic experts were able to recover the worn serial number from the gun. While reviewing a local newspaper's firearms section, detectives discovered a classified ad dated March 25, just 2 days before Dameon's surviving massacre. The ad described the exact model of gun recovered from the river. Following that lead, they quickly identified the gun's original owner.
Went to the person's house who sold the Winchester shotgun. I said, "Do you remember who you sold it to?"
His wife brings us a piece of notebook paper where she had wrote down the name Gregg Myers.
Detectives are stunned. The polite son who had mourned at the scene, the one with the alibi, had bought the guns himself later and used them to make his father and stepmother pass away. They dig deeper. Gregg's finances are collapsing. His home is in foreclosure. He's stopped payments, and he doesn't know where to go next.
We discovered that Gregg was in financially dire straits. His house had been foreclosed on. He'd stopped making payments because he knew he was going to lose his house, and that he really didn't know where he was going to go.
But if his parents die, the farm and the inheritance fall to him. Now the motive is clear: desperation and greed. Gregg is brought back to the station for questioning, the tone sharper this time. Detectives press him about the will and the money. Gregg stays calm, denies everything, insists he loved his parents.
You know you're holding some stuff back.
I'm trying to be as honest as I can.
Well, Greg, I don't think you are. I really don't. Okay? I really think you know something about this, and I really think you have knowledge. You do.
No.
You do.
No, I do not.
I know you've asked people for a gun because you want to kill your dad. Okay? There's a 4-year-old boy that's seen this. Okay? You didn't hurt him. So you got some remorse.
The evidence is mostly circumstantial until investigators dredge the river again. Floating near the firearm, they find a tied trash bag. Inside, a green jumpsuit, latex gloves with a fingerprint later matched to Gregg, 12-gauge shells identical to those from the crime scene, and tennis shoes 2.5 sizes smaller than his. The same size as the prints by the window where the suspect entered.
Sergeant Mark Whitaker called in for me. They made an arrest, and that it was Gregg. And I just went to my knees on my kitchen floor. And I cried my eyeballs out because I was so close with him. That hit me like a rock.
I just couldn't wrap my head around him, of all people.
I just didn't believe that Gregg could do that.
In April 2004, Gregg Myers went on trial for 2 counts of first-degree homicide. The courtroom is packed. Relatives, friends, neighbors, all staring at the man they once called family. Witnesses recall his coldness. He won't look at them. After just a few hours of deliberation, the jury returns guilty on both counts of aggravated homicide.
Seeing Gregg, he didn't show remorse for anything. He didn't look at any of us.
On April 27, 2004, after just a few hours of deliberation, a Darke County jury found Gregg Myers guilty of 2 counts of aggravated murder.
He's sentenced to 2 life terms without parole.
It was hard because I still couldn't believe that it was Gregg. I still felt like there's no way sometime I'm going to wake up from this dream. I just never would have thought he could do anything like that.
To know that he did this, all out of greed, that cuts like a knife.
It was terrible, and I hope he regrets it a lot. He deserves to be there for the rest of his life for taking them from us.
But because of Gregg's conviction and because one small boy found the courage to run through blood and fear to get help, justice finally catches up. Detectives say they'll never forget him. A 4-year-old saved this case. After months under protection, Dameon is finally reunited with his mother. It's bittersweet. The family's gone, but the promise remains. The boy will live the future his grandparents dreamed of. He started kindergarten that same year.
I was finally able to get Dameon back home. I can't put into words what that was like.
I think about this boy every day because it's just one of those cases that you can't dismiss it out of your mind.
Dameon now is 22 years old, and he's doing amazing. He did great in school.
He's grown up to be a hard-working, great young man. We're all proud of him. We all love him very much.
Jack and Linda Myers were the heart of their family, the glue that kept generations close. Their legacy now lives on through Dameon, who carries the love, courage, and strength they taught him. The boy who once whispered, "My grandparents are melting," grew up to tell their story, not as a victim, but as the reason justice was found. For investigators, it was one of the most haunting cases they ever closed. For Dameon, it was the day he lost everything, except courage. This murder documentary stands as a testament that sometimes justice is carried on the smallest shoulders. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more criminal documentaries that reveal not just who was responsible, but why. Before we go, just a short disclaimer. The goal of MOPD is to educate and inform. None of this is legal advice or judgment, just real events shared for awareness. Thanks for watching, and be careful out there.